This is Tracer Talks, conversations with top industry experts on trending topics for brands and digital risk protection, featuring your host, Tracer CEO, Rick Farnell.
I really, truly enjoy being on the platform side is because I really get to emphasize the concept of brand protection and what that really means, which is really advocating on behalf of the brand.
We need to understand what brands are seeing so we can implement measures, we can look for those infringing products on our own as well.
Using AI for good is absolutely mandatory.
Circumvention is a big topic, I think, for all platforms, right? Because we spend so much time developing measures to make sure the platform is safe, but those bad actors are just trying to find a way their way in.
There's such a big counterfeit wine industry going on right now. And, you would think, well, not a big deal. It's just wine. But no, you don't know what you're drinking. You don't know what's going into. Listen, touch any space you want. Just don't touch the wine.
If you're not utilizing modern techniques and capabilities, you're not playing the game. You're just not in the game. Welcome to episode 4 of Tracer Talks with eBay, collaborating to combat counterfeiting. We have Maral Behnam-Garcia from eBay and Julien Dudouit. All right. And instead of me introducing you guys, why don't you just take a minute just for the audience, introduce yourselves and what you do at eBay.
Ladies first.
I have been in the brand protection space since about 2010. Generally speaking, I have focused early on in my career on the brand side and did the horrible shift to the evil e-commerce platform back in 2017 and was with the e-commerce company Wish. And very recently, I have transitioned over into eBay, focusing on IP compliance and regulatory efforts.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. Julien?
Hey everyone, I'm Julien. I actually started my career with eBay back in 2005. So I've been with eBay for 18 years, going from customer service to policy management to brand relations. So now I overview relationship with brand owners and I support brands for all their efforts on IP issues and other legal matters.
Well, I will kick off the show from Tracer's perspective on behalf of all the brands that we work with, Julien and now Maral. We really appreciate the partnership because routinely, time in and time out from brands, we get a wonderful, wonderful report back from how we are protecting them in collaboration with you. So all of your efforts really have been quite spectacular. So
thank you.
Thank you for that. So let's kick things off and maybe just talk a little bit about brand protection. Means a lot. I'm relatively new to the industry. I'm only a couple of years in. Actually, today's my 2-year anniversary at Tracer. So, yeah. So maybe what does brand protection mean to you?
So, I joke about platforms being the evil e-commerce, but actually one of the reasons why I really, truly enjoy being on the platform side is because I really get to emphasize the concept of brand protection and what that really means, which is really advocating on behalf of the brand. I think a lot of people misconceptualize that e-commerce platforms have the same exact idea and incentives as a brand does, which is really to focus on protecting the brands. Now, instead of doing it from a one brand side, they do it from a variety of different brand side, very similar to what Tracer does. And so we really have the same goals. And personally, I love combating the good fight. I think counterfeits are extremely harmful. I think there's an entire industry about counterfeiting that is not talked about enough, and there's just not enough education out there. And I am thrilled to be part of the journey to be able to help really educate on what brand protection is.
So appreciate that. And we're trying ourselves to create ways in which we can get the message out and really put some thought leadership out. So this talk in of itself, so really appreciate the journey. Julien, if you don't mind, for the audience, what does brand protection mean to you?
I completely agree with what Maral just said. I think what I would add is that a lot of people keep forgetting that we are a brand ourselves. Mm-hmm. We do have to protect our own brand. So we do enforce on other platforms and etc. So we get it. And the other piece that for me means a lot is really just making sure that what it's the customer experience, right? I think Maral was highlighting the brand experience and the protection they need to have. But I think for me, it's helping the brands, but to protect our customers and their customers as well. I think that's important for the safety of everyone.
100%. We have kind of a really wonderful, when we wake up in the morning here at Tracer, on behalf of our customers, we're kind of protecting over 8 billion account holders. If you add up all of the account holders, now granted, some people have, this credit card and they're on eBay and they're drinking this alcohol and they're there. So there's a lot of overlap, but really appreciate that. And that is kind of a big calling card. So maybe looking back at 2023, at some of the trends that you guys saw in your roles. Boy, we started 2023 with NFT mania, yes. and Web3 and some stuff, right? And then certainly Gen AI dominated the news in every industry. So there are a lot of things that happened in 2023. So maybe just slightly looking backwards, but what are some of the bigger things that made the headlines last year that are impacting what you do today and maybe how you're thinking about your role?
Well, I think generally speaking, AI has taken off. The fact that you don't need to do anything and can have an entire journey created about you and push forward without having to just even snap a photo is really, we've come a long way, and that's amazing. And, unfortunately, that technology is used for a lot. Fortunately, it's used for a lot of good, but unfortunately, it's also used for a lot of bad. And so now technology has allowed a lot more opportunities for counterfeiters and bad actors to just circumvent a lot of best practices that one has put into motion. And so for me, one of the biggest things and one of the biggest trends that I've been noticing that has kind of really exacerbated in 2023 is the ability in the digital space for counterfeiters to circumvent a lot of their products deeper into the market. And so online has just become, really exasperated. And so trying to play the whack-a-mole game that we feel like we kind of tackled in 2022 and almost really were away with in 2023 feels like it came back in a different form. With Chat GPT really helps also push forward a lot of different descriptions and ideas that, we used to utilize with bad actors because they would make so many mistakes. But now with the emergence of that area of technology too, they're really fine tuning. So it's really becoming more difficult to uncover.
Yep.
So that is,
and totally agree. And here at Tracer, we feel that using AI for good is absolutely mandatory. I mean, we needed to utilize technology in partnership with folks like yourselves in the industry, but if you're not utilizing modern techniques and capabilities, you're not playing the game. You're just not in the game.
Right.
I appreciate that. Julien, so maybe same for you, as you look at some of the big trends from 2023, what stood out to you and how is that impacting, your role as you move forward this year?
I think there's circumvention is a big topic. I think for all platforms, right? Because we spend so much time developing measures to make sure the platform is safe. But those bad actors are just trying to find a way their way in, so that keeps us busy. But I think also this year, obviously with the launch of the DSA, there was a lot of work that went into place to be compliant with the new law. And so that took a lot of time, resources, and efforts to make sure we are there. And there's still more coming. It's exciting and keeping us busy.
Now, are you guys noticing any trends? I mean, I think you're going to be busier than we are.
You're absolutely right. And we saw, I think you hit on some of the points, the techniques that some of the bad actors and networks out there are using for imagery, for descriptions, for circumventing computer vision capabilities, kind of what was in vogue for computer vision image recognition a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. It's moved light years from there. So the ability to kind of detect things that are really subtly hidden. We're seeing a big uptick in being able to break down short form video. So we've started to work with TikTok and other short form video to basically stream that through and pick up imagery that's happening in those frames. So,
Right.
So it's we don't want to be playing whack-a-mole.
No.
and we're priding ourselves here at Tracer on building really some wonderful automation on behalf of our customers and trying to stay ahead of kind of where these very highly sophisticated bad networks are pointing to. So I appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about our brands. So I think collectively, one thing that we share in common is on behalf of the brands that want to have a relationship on your platform in order to reach their customers. And then, those brands are folks that we work with in conjunction with you to help create as digital pure of an experience as possible. So can you share, what are some of the good feelings? Like when we are successful, how do you guys document that? Is there any sort of metrics that you look at? Are there return on investment? Are there time metrics? So maybe just share a little bit about how do we know that we're doing good?
If I don't hear about you, that's good news.
That's good. That's good.
But in general, obviously, we do look at kind of the pushback rate, right? How many times do we have to ask for clarifications? Things like that. We've do a lot of work trying to calibrate with service providers just to make sure it's safe times on both sides. So we want the reports to be accurate, obviously. So we do monitor, but we also understand mistakes can be made and all that. But so it's all about partnership. I've been very lucky to be in this industry for a while, so I have point of contact with a lot of the vendors and the brands to reach out if something doesn't look right. And so it can be fixed quickly and easily. So, no complaints. And I haven't heard about you guys for a while. So it's good news.
Again, I'm going to give you guys another compliment. And I really do mean this, not just because you're on the show, but the work that you have put into how we trace on behalf of the brands on your platform and how we integrate with you on if there are problems. We take that very seriously. We really appreciate the level of sophistication that we have together with you. So thank you for that. Yep.
Our pleasure.
Yep. So let's shift maybe gears towards some not always a fun topic, but things that are happening with new initiatives.
It is fun, actually.
Okay.
It's always exciting when there's new stuff coming, right? Oh, usually.
So let's go there. What new initiatives has eBay implemented to start to combat counterfeits?
Actually, we've had a very exciting year with we did 2 acquisitions last year. So that really means that eBay really cares about counterfeits for investing in those companies. So the first one was 3PM Shield. And this company uses AI technology and will help eBay in improving detection using AI. So I'm very excited about it, and we are seeing great progress there. The second one is Search Logo. This is a company based out of Italy that provide digital authentication. Mm-hmm. So they implement a label on the product, and any user or consumer can just scan the code and verify the authentication. On top of that, it's great for the brands because they can provide information to the consumers about, efforts they are making in the environment or specific details about their products, etc. So it's pretty cool. So we are very excited about that too. It's also kind of a technology we can leverage to authenticate products. You probably know that it's been a few years that we have our authentication guarantee program. And so for certain categories, we're going to authenticate products by our experts and before it goes to the final consumer. So that, again, has been great. Right now, we're doing watches, handbags, jewelry, streetwear. Am I missing on? Handbags.
The most important one. But I think it's also a huge highlight of the dedication that our company has in combating counterfeiting. And many platforms do really stress the importance of finding different ways to be able to kind of stay ahead of the game. And eBay really takes that commitment very seriously, and they're very vocal about it. So it's a huge highlight for this company and how much they're dedicated to the space and utilizing technology to really be one step ahead of these bad actors.
It shows. So thank you for all that you guys do. Let's shift gears towards kind of the regulatory space. So how are new regulatory changes affecting your efforts? And as you think about 2024, without sharing any details and all that, of course, but just in more in general, what are some of the regulatory things that are being talked about or coming down the pipe or have been in place that are impacting how you guys think about your world?
Well, before we get into 2024, I think it's important to talk about a lot of the different changes that happened in 2023. Julien mentioned the DSA, which is the Digital Services Act, that it was a legislative act that came out in Europe. And that really set the bar in terms of adding more transparency. The U.S. itself did launch the Inform Act a couple years ago, and it was really geared towards more transparency of sellers on any platform. And in Europe, they were really more focused on where the products are coming from and how those products are being kind of transitioned from hand to hand and having more visibility into the compliance efforts that goes into that.
Are there movements like this in other countries? Is this kind of a first of its kind? Are there any European, initiatives moving along those ways, or maybe just share a little bit about the global aspect of that?
Well, globally, Europe is really stepping it up. They have a lot of different initiatives around a lot of different regulations. There's the GPSR, which is the General Product Safety Pledge and Act. It's coming out. The regulations, Digital Safety Act was really focused on online space, not just e-commerce, but really making sure the internet itself is safe. There's the Online Safety Bill. There's just a number of regulations. I could probably spend an hour talking about the different regulations. And it's great, but and I think it's really, really important. Now in the US, they don't have that level of scrutiny. But I also think because everyone is doing their part. Right. And it's a bigger problem. It's a much bigger problem that we could tackle right now.
And that's kind of what it's certainly, again, as a relative newcomer to the space for 2 years, just about 2 years now. That's kind of one thing I'm learning is this is very much a shared partnership. We have to collaborate.
Absolutely.
And what's really interesting, I'll throw in maybe something just to get a little bit of, talk going. For some of our brands, there's some recent trends where buying counterfeits is actually in vogue. Mm-hmm. And and maybe now because of the platforms, because of the notoriety and who has the best. And so we're not only fighting the bad guys, but we're fighting actually people who are purposely, intentionally trying to buy knockoffs and stuff like that. So, yeah.
To comment on that, it goes back to consumer education. I don't think, generally speaking, folks understand why counterfeiting is wrong. If I went out and I'm young gal, I'm young, but don't have the opportunity to go purchase a very large, purchase of a handbag that costs, well over my paycheck can afford. I'm going to be thrilled with that $26 knockoff that I just got and I'm wearing. And so generally there is a market for it. And the reason why counterfeiting is so broad is because consumers thrive off counterfeiting and they don't understand why it's negative and why it impacts the market so negatively. And I think there needs to be just much more consumer education, particularly at the young scale. And I think there's a lot of efforts that are being done. I know eBay's involved in some efforts.
Yeah, we are sponsoring the Unreal campaign within INTA. We strongly believe in education. And I think it goes even beyond counterfeits. People might just don't know they can't take a picture on the website to use it. This is simple for us because we've been in that industry, but my mom want to know. And so I think education is really something that could be improved.
Right. And not just around counterfeiting, but around generally IP compliance. And Julien, you nailed it when you said folks don't know that if I want to go on the internet and grab a photo and use it for myself on my listing, I am now, infringing on someone's copyright, or if I'm misusing like a trademark, for example. But that also goes into a whole different scope, because now you're just, there's not enough education on what intellectual property is and the fact that it's even a law. And most of our sellers, or any sellers, don't sometimes understand that, just putting, if I had a beautiful Tracer water bottle and I'm using Tracer, that I might be infringing on your brand. And that's not necessary. Or if I have a water bottle and I throw a Tracer logo and now I'm reselling it out into the market, that's now a counterfeit. They don't understand that what I just did is counterfeiting. Yeah. They think counterfeiting is just, something in a back alley that's just done with Rolexes or with watches. They don't realize that counterfeiting comes in the form of medication, of pharma, of other things. And so you name it. And it's a really, really unfortunate. And that's why I cannot stress consumer education enough.
Yeah. And you just hit upon kind of the health and safety aspects of it.
Correct.
So we do have a number of consumer packaged goods and beverage companies. And, that this is a very, very big deal. It's one thing to, utilize a logo from a brand that maybe you can't in order to move a product, but it's another thing to be making a product saying that it's something else and people are ingesting it into their bodies.
Yes.
Without any regulations or anything. So.
I just recently read a case study that I was fascinated by on there's such a big counterfeit wine industry going on right now. And, you would think, well, not a big deal. It's just wine. But no, you don't know what you're drinking. You don't know what's going into. Listen, touch any space you want. Just don't touch the wine. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, the whiskey world as well. So whenever, because I think the wine falls into it. When you have very, very known marquee labels from some of the best wine houses and winemakers, and then therefore whiskey makers and et cetera, you're bringing in an opportunity for someone to profit off that.
Right.
So, and not put in that genuine product that has been aged correctly for, 25 years, 30 years.
Well, and it could be lethal. You don't know how it would affect you.
There was actually a case in Russia with vodka. And people died from it.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. It is a big deal. So maybe a question for brand owners themselves, if you guys don't mind. Mm-hmm. What can brand owners do to better work with folks like ourselves and you to really have a clean experience on your platform?
So again, I go back to when I started this conversation, I said the evil marketplace platform, because that's what we're kind of seen as, right? But I think folks don't really, brand owners have really changed that view, and marketplaces are not seen as the evil marketplace anymore. We're really seen as partners. And I think it's really important to stress partnership, not only with branders, but also with, Tracer and other providers such as yourself, because we really need to work together. We all share a common goal, whether it's the brands, whether it's, tech, whether it's marketplaces, whether it's offline, online. We're all working together to really focus on getting rid of this issue. Yeah. And we can't do it alone. And what's really important is that we need to focus on changing that perspective of being reactive and focusing on trying to go to the marketplaces just to get listings down and really work together to find ways to be more proactive and to really work together to kind of solve the problem before it even starts. And if we really can tackle that, then even go a step further and try to see how we could tackle it at the source.
Yeah. And maybe Julien, for you on the partnership side and collaboration, what are some things that folks like ourselves in this industry are working at? What can we do to really have a clean experience on behalf of the customers that we both want to make sure are clean?
No, that's a good question. I think don't be a silent surfer. Reach out. We're gonna do our best to help, but it's most likely we're just not aware about whatever brands issues they are seeing, because we don't have that expertise of their products or things like that. So reach out, talk, discuss. We can set up meetings. We can meet. We need to understand what brands are seeing, so we can implement measures. We can look for those infringing products on our own as well. Don't be afraid to come to us, and we'll partner with you.
And that's great. I think one thing that we are seeing as a trend is more dynamic directives on behalf of our customers because the threats are coming and changing more rapidly than we ever have seen before. Therefore, the directives from our brands that we're protecting are also changing. So that is one thing that is just, we're going to have to foster more collaboration. Right. So certainly look forward to that.
Yeah. And that collaboration is not going to end, because as brands continuously evolve their portfolios, we continuously need to evolve our efforts as well. And so that collaboration is constantly continuous. Yeah. And so it's important to note that, keep us in mind, and brands should always keep platforms in mind.
Don't assume we know.
Yes.
We know it all.
We're going to go into a fun part of the segment here, which is called Rapid Fire. Ooh. So have some fun with it.
Are you saying we were not having fun?
Nice. All right. So handful of questions we ask everyone. So I'll kind of alternate back and forth. So Julien, we'll start with you. Okay. What would you choose for your last meal?
Wine.
Okay. that could be the best answer we've had on the show. Maral?
Oh, yeah. Last meal, carbs. I miss carbs.
Okay. What superpower would you choose?
Oh, freeze time. I want to be EB like the 80s when I go like this and it just time stops.
I like that one. What about you? What superpower?
Transportation, yeah. I want to be in Paris right now. Yeah.
Ooh. Most productive time of the day, Julien?
Ooh, usually mornings.
Okay. Maral?
Mine is late evenings.
Okay. Cats or dogs?
I have a love for both.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
I love both too. Okay. But I don't have any.
And so since you already,
I like others.
Since you already answered wine for your last meal, I think we know what your drink of choice is, which is French water.
Grapes.
Right?
Grapes.
Yeah. Drink of choice?
I have recently discovered good tequila, like just tequila.
Oh.
Not mezcal?
I was not a fan before, but now I am.
Outstanding.
With orange and cinnamon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Favorite genre?
Can we have one now?
That's a little later.
Favorite genre of music? I'm an 80s girl, so I love 80s music.
90s.
90s, okay. Mm-hmm. Favorite pizza? Like toppings?
Calzone.
Oh. We had an amazing one a couple nights ago that had prosciutto and white truffle. And that is absolutely my new favorite.
I like it. Okay. This one, slightly more serious. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Not to take life so seriously, because I tend to go overboard with the seriousness.
Okay. Julien?
Try it.
Oh.
Simple.
Very good. Thank you guys very much for joining the show. Really appreciate this has been episode 4, Tracer Talks with eBay, collaborating to combat counterfeits.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Tracer Talks. To see more content on brands and digital risk protection, visit our website, tracer.ai.